But you know, Marcia, while you're looking, every one of these items, look at it, just look at it. Transparency first, accountability always, local capacity, protect public funds, listen to warnings. What have you been doing on your program? Raising all of these consistently and constantly, and I'll be very frank. And I was glad we were able to pay the extract from the Prime Minister explaining to her colleagues and to Barbadians what this bank was about. And as I tell you, as a former teacher, if I had to mark her on that for clarity of explanation, simplicity, accuracy, and so on, nobody could walk away from there saying this Blue Green Bank is established. I mean, it was a lot of nice fancy sounding words, dropping the buzzwords in the appropriate times. But as we talk about building resilience and addressing climate change, what will this bank be doing? Who could access the resources? Somewhere they asked about define who bears risk and who reaps profits, the profit. Who were going to be the beneficiaries of this? Who would access the resources? Who could borrow from this money? From this, who could borrow money from this entity? To do what exactly? What kind of projects did the government seek to prioritize? So, in other words, so that you would know that we are generating these funds, but for a country like Barbados, where we want to address these challenges, these areas are priority. But no, we get a lot of fancy words dropped here and there. But I don't know about other people, but I have long seen through those, because when I am finished listening to anybody, the question I ask myself, do you understand what that person said? Are you better informed for it? Can you act on the person's words? Do they basically make any sense? Or are they bamboozling you with the proverbial BS? And I am concerned that all the fancy talk, Barbados's reputation is being tarnished, because you're going to tell me we have been somehow caught up and become victims in some scandal. And one of the key architects or so names to the public will tell us, I ain't know nothing about that. That don't ring a bell for me. What were you doing?
Mm.
Marcia? And I think it was one of you, I think it was Mr. Gill, when he talked about the money spent on medicinal marijuana, and the fact that at the time it was about $20 million when we probably last had a serious discussion about it. That's money that could have been put into creating opportunities for so many young people. And money is just being wasted, money that we are either given in grant form or money that we have to pay back. Either way, it's a travesty.
Yeah, but Dave, if Dave could check your WhatsApp and put up that on the screen, guys, and you will see that there's no way they had done any homework on this. There's none. If you're going to go into such an arrangement, Miss McClean, this is such a big arrangement. I mean, we are a small entity in my school, and you're going to go into I'm going to call you. I'm going to call somebody else. What do you think? So this is the GCF watch, the Green Climate Fund watch, and what they do, Miss McClean, is that they look out for developing countries.
Yeah, a network of civil society, indigenous people, and local communities.
And it says we have a number of concerns about whether the Green Blue Bank proposal is appropriate. This was July 11th, and if this is the watch, you're going to tell me, Avinash Prasad and Mia Motley, that they did not know about this? I am asking a question, and do what you want to do with me. I am saying somebody need to know, and we need to know who's Pegasus Capital. Where is it? Where? Thank God for Maria Bradshaw, but this wasn't carried, Maria. Maria, you should go and look into this.
Well, it
This
is
wasn't
there for
carried.
all to read. You can go to www.greenclimate.fund/document/GCF B36-02-08. It is there. Anybody can take a screenshot of that and go, or take a photograph of it with your phone, or just go and Google GCF Watch, Barbados Blue Green Bank, and you can see this for yourself. Or Google Observer Network, GCF Observer Network of Civil Society, Indigenous Peoples, and Local Communities. Now, Marcia, let us come back home to the Cabinet of Barbados. I
Dave,
don't
put it
know
back on there for me, Dave. I want the people to. I'm sorry, Miss
to
McClean.
capture it.
I
Yes.
didn't say excuse me. This is so important because we are dealing here with facts. This is facts.
Let them go and
Look,
read it. You are very right. Let it stay there while we
stay there a little bit,
speak on
Dave.
their
Stay
mind.
there. Go ahead, Miss McClean.
Because
I'm
what
sorry.
I'm saying is, as I said, I cannot vouch for how cabinet functions, no. But I would say this: any proposal like this would have gotten cabinet's approval. Just to travel to the meeting, because this was presented at a meeting in Spain, in France, sorry. There was a meeting in France that this was presented at, and so on, the bank that was created, and then all the funds and so on provided. Even just to go to the meeting would have had to met cabinet's approval. A presentation, a discussion of the intention of the prime minister during the 10 years I served in cabinet would have been shared and thoughts exchanged about what was to be done. You understand what I'm saying? So this was not,
Yes.
so this isn't something. So in other words, when people started to see this, the questions, some of those questions that GCF that are captured by this observer network, those questions would have been asked. Are we clear on the benefits? How this sounds fairly general or abstract or generic. Could you expand on this? Don't you think that these are questions that you'll be asked to expand? But it seems as though um, these things come and they're approved. And I asked the question of having seen all of this, where is this bank operational? Let me be very basic. As I said, is this bank operating? How many loans, grants, or whatever? Who runs the bank? If there's a CEO, who is he or she? If there's a board of directors, who are they? Where is it located? You know,
Naeem Hossein is asking a question. I'm going to check in. I'm not giving up on this one here, Naeem. I
this
am
is
going to
only the
dig.
beginning.
This is only the beginning here because this thing with this Pegasus Capital, these things are seeming like they are created. They're sham companies. They're not real, Miss McClean. That's the impression, in my opinion. I don't know for sure, but that's how it's
They may
coming
be
off.
real companies, but my question is doing what exactly? Who are the principals? How big? What is the experience? In here, it was suggested that this company probably does not know a lot about green financing and so on. You go back to White Oaks. Remember when people
Yeah.
research White Oaks? This is no long-standing company of with it is amazing.
But you remember that this gentleman Adams, who was a senator, he was supposed to take a large sum of money from the NIS to go and that they were going to invest this somewhere. It wasn't it in the UK. Have we heard anything about it yet?
No, what I would say about that, Marcia, it would be important to know the NIS has, according to the legislation under which it operates, very specific rules as to how monies from the NIS can be invested. In other words, you have to follow the law in accessing those funds. And one of the things that was clear in terms of the whole investment is that you couldn't just, the directors couldn't just get up one morning, at least in the past, and take funds because they, and this was one of the concerns. So that is another important issue we do not know. And I want to say this for Barbadians who have been, and because you mentioned it just now when you talked about the Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Thorne will probably not get another meeting of the Public Accounts Committee unless Barbadians can make sure that the members of government who sit on that committee and who will determine that there's a quorum attend those meetings.
Yes, yes, yes.
So he can call. In fact, my suggestion is that where there are issues that would normally be put to the Public Accounts Committee, those things should be put to the public and discussed over and over again, because you will not get it, you know. Um,
This, it seemed to me, John Rock is right. I think this woman has these grandiose ideas. This is what I think. And she comes to these people, and because she is she's a bully over them. I'm just speaking straight. This is just how I feel. They just go ahead with her with these nonsensical ideas, and run off with them, and nobody stops to think, to ask a question. If I could find something in 5 minutes, you're going to tell me all of them sit there taking all of that money, over 100 and something thousand dollars they get a year, plus their the entertainment allowance, plus their travel allowance, and they could not Google this?
you know what I'm going to do, Marcia, as you were speaking, and it crossed my mind, and I'm just writing it down so that I would remember to go back and look at the debate, or if the debate isn't available,
I
to look at
wanted
it.
to find that
How
as
many of these people spoke on this bill, and what did they say?
we must continue this tomorrow. Find it, Miss McClean. We're going to stay on this, and we want you to show you Barbadians. What we are showing you is that this, what they're saying is what we're trying to do. What that civil society was saying to the Barbados government is what we are trying to do here 4 nights a week. But they will not listen,
Well, I hope
because
that,
Pierre listens to nobody.
you see, there's some people out there who have sought to dismiss, to discredit, to denigrate, call it whatever, the contributions of this program. But I will say this, and I say to you now, Marcia, that in the absence of your determination, Barbadians would have been ignorant to a lot of things, because at the end of the day, it is true, a lot of what you've done and this is critical. If people, this is absolutely critical. You have ignored the attacks, in fact, I mean, and threats and all of those things. But this is absolutely necessary.
This is
I cannot go anywhere, Marcia, anywhere, whether it's church, supermarket, walking down the street, go to the beach. People say it over and over. Young, old, male, female. Our eyes have been opened, because you see, you've created a forum. And I want to say to Barbadians, a forum that is not sponsored, it is not financed. The only financing that is gone around here is when they are paying the expenses of a march. And the march is not the show. And I hope people understand that the people who come on here, Dave and Marcia Weeks, are persons who have the interests of the people of this country at heart. And I tell you, those partisan voices that you hear in criticism, I say to them tonight, as we speak about this topic and the others that went before it, stick a pin, think about the issue, forget the messengers, listen to the message, and ask yourself, if what you are seeing you are happy with, or you for your children, or if you would want to see your children making decisions in this way.
Yeah.
If you are okay with it, is it okay for your children if your children were in the position to make these decisions, etc.? Would you be comfortable that they were doing
Yes. Good question, McClean. Wow, it's 10 o'clock is gone.
it?
And I'm telling you, oh, Miss McClean, whew,
Well, we have issues on top of issues. I every time well, I heard the gentleman from the Water Authority speak, and I found it. I'd be nice and say incredible to believe. I have relatives in St. Lucie, and I talked to my sister-in-law and to my niece, and the amount of money they have to spend on water. Now tell me, if water, I mean, I am drinking. This is water from the tap at my house.
yeah,
Compare that and contrast that with that brown water. They tell me to drink that. I don't care what test they did. The fact that there's a significant difference between the color of the water coming out of my tap here, and that says that something is wrong with it. Something is wrong with it. I mean, you imagine just trying to cook a pot of white rice with that.
turn brown rice.
Thank you. So
And
so
it's not even a joke. It's not funny because all of that is going into your system. It's not a joke.
and the guy is talking about silt, and I've asked the question before, if and we've heard suggestions that the water table is being compromised, and the question is, what do you do with that? Because you cannot alter. If that has happened, then you have a problem that has, you either have to shut those wells down and start somewhere. I don't, however difficult or otherwise it will be. But don't tell people you've tested it and you've brought people from overseas. You bring them from Flint in Michigan
When they
to
drink
test.
it, then drink it. Don't even, don't, they don't try that.
I find it, I mean, it's ridiculous. People
Oh,
complain.
gosh. Oh,
But
my
it
goodness.
just tells you, Marcia, that there's so many problems to be dealt with, but we are busy. Not we, I keep saying the people who represent us are busy, represent this country, are busy out there or refusing to listen. And anytime you raise your voice in concern of, in opposition to something that's going wrong, people want to label you and dismiss you. But these are the challenges that have to be overcome. Because if we don't do it, Barbados is going to hell in a handbasket. It is frightening. It is
Yeah,
frightening,
and what they're
and
doing.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Miss McLean. I'm
No, I'm
sorry.
saying, and going back to what we were discussing about the what should I call it? I'm trying to find a word to describe the cabinet colleagues of the prime minister
Because you're
when it
being
comes
so
to these
diplomatic.
matters. Yeah, but I am but I can't help because if I go and go to the other extreme, you understand, and then you will say you can't have me on your show. So no, but I mean, how? I mean, this silent to the point of being dumb, not in the words, not being able to talk, being stupid. I mean, don't you read anything? Don't you ask questions? Don't you have an understanding or an appreciation of anything? Don't you listen? Don't you talk to anybody? Don't you read? Don't you follow? I mean, how can these things just happen?
Yeah.
And people then, and the most irritating thing for me, Marcia, in all of this in recent times, is this notion we are consulting with the people. So you bring a piece of legislation that is definitely flawed because you didn't take the time to investigate and solicit inputs before the fact. But then you're going to use that, will we consult? If you consult in the right order, if you listen to what people have to say before you act, you don't have to just waste time and then go back and do what you should have done in the first instance,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know. And this applies to this whole business of this blue green bank. We were asking months ago. I will go and dig up my notes from the time we discussed it. And certainly, as I said, my
Yeah.
commitment is to go and follow the debate in Parliament to see who spoke and to let Barbadians, remind Barbadians where they could go and find it and understand the level or of discourse that took place around that, and whether people raised anything of substance. And I can bet you that less than half of the members of parliament, in fact, let me put it another way, less than half of the people who were there on that particular day, because oftentimes those present are probably less than half of who should be there. So what you'll find is that a quarter of the, probably did not. Seven, 4 7 is 28. I am sure 7 people probably didn't speak. So let me remind you that I use the number 7. I raised it when I look at a quarter of the 28, because you take out the speaker and the 28 persons. And I will
Yeah.
check to see if more than 7 persons spoke on this bill.
Yeah.
Probably not.